Post-traumatic stress disorder it's a complicated diagnosis. It is a involuntary reaction to circumstance. Scientifically, what that means is that we're kind of caught in a fight or flight response. So we are stuck with our kind of like this flapper to our adrenal gland open, flooding us with look out. Trauma can be anything, though, right? We know that trauma can be a divorce. Trauma can be anything from the loss of your job to the loss of your child, and anything in between. Terminal diagnosis, an addicted family member, domestic violence, sexual assault.
But what happens to people is they've either been through very extreme trauma or they've been through multiple traumas, and so their body gets stuck in that crisis mode, and now it's not necessary anymore, but they're operating day to day as if they're in that mode, and so it causes a lot of problems. And that's really what PTSD is. The body needs to act differently to get through a crisis. If someone's attacking you, or you're in a horrific accident, or a shooting, or whatever it is, you don't want to be thinking, oh my goodness, I'm hungry. That wouldn't be functional. So whether it's with the brain and cognition, or all the way down to the body and your digestive system, there can be issues by getting stuck in that trauma mode.
The TRY method is a series of postures linked with breath, self-regulation tools, meditation, affirmation, and sealed up with a little essential oil that helps people recover and let go after crisis or trauma.
It was a year ago. My wife took a fall from her horse and suffered a unsurvivable brain injury, and passed away Super Bowl Sunday 2017. We were supposed to go to Spain, and a beach that we went to 10 years ago in Maine because my wife wanted to see lighthouses. Okay, I just followed along, and it was one of the best trips ever. In my mind, we were always going to go back and find that beach again. Now we can't.
Well, whether it's a traditional first responder like police or fire, or what we refer to ourselves as the last of the first responders, we've got to make sure that we take steps to minimize the emotional trauma and the stress that people could get by being exposed to the things that we're exposed to. We see every day what 90% of the population will never see in their entire life, which is something that we've got to be aware of, and we've got to take steps. We have a very aggressive employee wellness program here at the coroner's office, and it's something that more and more first responders and organizations that are considered first responders are needing to be aware of, so they can take steps and minimize the emotional, the traumatic potential in being exposed to what we're exposed to.
Our son Jacob, his 22nd birthday, drank too much alcohol, jumped on a moving train that sucked him under the train and dismembered his legs. And so I was calling him, thinking I was wishing him happy birthday, but I ended up in Virginia at his bedside for 9 days as he died. And I was watching him die piece by piece, surgery by surgery. After that experience, I was diagnosed with PTSD.
A smile behind the eyes, the shoulders melt, the chin drops, the heart lifts, the arms and legs feel warm.
My wife was very adamant, apologize, but that didn't want services. She was an organ donor, and she wanted to be cremated. Then what do you do with the box of ashes after that? My wife and my sister, every year was girls' trips to national parks to get their passport books stamped at national parks. So I've been making it a mission to hit all 50 some odd national parks and leave a piece of her there.
When you talk about an incident like 1 October, you put that on top of stressors that people are already feeling, and it has the potential to push people over the edge and really pile stress on top of stress.
You know, in this town, post Route 91, when, you know, even as a society, we'll say, well, that was their job, to show up there and help those people. That wasn't their job. Their job was to fight fires and go out on calls, but their job was never to be in a war zone. So they are now suffering the effects of trauma, many of them. The same goes for the other first responders we work with in hospitals, nurses and doctors that weren't geared to be a MASH unit. You know, they're taught treat and move on, treat and move on, treat and move on. And here they are, not being able to sleep. People are calling in more at these places. They're angry more, they're resentful more. And it's not that they're angry and resentful. Their body is scared and saying run. Their body is saying fight. Their body is saying flight. And they are having a hard time coping and making sense of that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhaling the other side of that circle. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
While trying to find sense in life, after that, one dark Wednesday night in August, it popped up on a neighborhood Facebook feed about trauma recovery yoga. Something just told me it was right. It's really helped me reconnect with life. And for a long time, it was the only reason I had for leaving the house.
One of the things I wanted to do when I was creating it was to make sure that I could speak to the world, to bring it into places that wouldn't normally receive it. So when we talk about vets and firefighters and, you know, just construction workers to, you know, housewives that wouldn't feel comfortable walking into a yoga studio.
There's a bit of skepticism around yoga depending on the culture and the person. And what I tell people is, I don't care if all you do is sit on this mat and close your eyes and breathe for the entire 45 minutes that I'm teaching. That is yoga, and that is enough. And I'm telling you right now, some of my veterans, they take me up on that. And they do just sit there and to me, that's better than whatever they could be doing at home. Unfortunately, we don't have a huge awareness of mental health in general in this country. I think that trauma, you know, it's all shoo-shooed under the rug and we don't talk about our mental health. And so I think that's not something that most people, you know, have day-to-day conversations about. It's not something that a lot of people know about. So when I can provide that information in a way that's understandable and digestible, a lot of people get those aha moments about their life or about a family member or maybe the patient or someone they're working with. And so that's what we see a lot is people really going, oh, I get it. So I think that, you know, providing the knowledge is really key.
There's a lot of stigma surrounding yoga, and we fight that stigma all the time. And the idea that yoga is just for bendy girls who can touch their toes and wear shiny clothes and talk about chakras and speak Sanskrit and all of that can be very intimidating. It was for me, and it is for the general population. We want to bring the Try method to the general public, to everyone who we possibly can. So we made a conscious effort to pull those pieces out, and so our method is based in science. We speak in science. We don't speak in Sanskrit. That was the shift that we made because we wanted to speak to our audience and make everyone feel comfortable to come into our space or let us come into their space.
And so you go through, and then as time goes on, hopefully, you know, the sky begins to clear, and it's blue skies, and it's sunny, and you're no longer flying through a storm.
Try it because it's so specific to trauma and takes into consideration what people might be going through. It's important to calm the mind and use the breath work, and putting our students in Savasana could be a very healing experience for them. The most calm they've been in months, you know. You can go in any yoga studio, and any type of yoga is better than no yoga, in my opinion, but it can be really intimidating. And a lot of times teachers come up to you and and touch you, and they have good intentions, but they adjust you, they turn the lights off. Sometimes there's verbiage that just really could be triggering. Certain postures could be very overwhelming at first. And so TRI takes all that into consideration. And it's not invasive. It's very predictable. It kind of has the opposite characteristics of what trauma is, because trauma is unpredictable. It's invasive, it's arbitrary, and TRI is not. And so we've developed this method that is very specific, and it's meant to take into consideration people who may or may not be triggered and living in that trauma state.
There was a magical thing that happened that first night, and that was Savasana. Had no idea what it meant, didn't know, and I actually felt connection. You want to say with my wife? I don't know. I felt connection again. Traditional therapy has helped me come to terms with what is. And TRI has helped me see that there is the future, that there's something more, that there's light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak. It's helped me see that there is something more, that there's future out there. It's not just tomorrow. It can be further than that.
I don't think that too many people are open to doing yoga in the workplace or doing meditation in the workplace, and it's unfortunate. It took the 1 October incident for us to recognize how beneficial that yoga, and specifically trauma recovery yoga or meditation, can be in the workplace. I think it's an amazing thing once you're able to do it. But like a lot of things, it's hard to dedicate that resource to something like trauma recovery yoga or meditation prior to a big incident. Like I said, it's unfortunate that it takes a big incident for us to recognize that, but now that we've had it, my goal is to have it never go away. Our job, whether you're a policeman, a fireman, or you're a member of the coroner's office staff, it's a very stressful process, and to think that it's just the incident that gives you the stress is not correct. It's something that I think people should do in many different workplaces, and it really promotes a much healthier workplace. But when we started it, we didn't look at it as a team building exercise. We looked at it as something just for people to go into and relieve stress and get them healthier, both emotionally and physically. But the team building part of it has been hugely beneficial for us. And not only that, but we're also doing it with other first responders and other departments in Clark County. So it's kind of bringing them together at a level that they've never worked together before. So that's helped us a lot.
We can't turn a blind eye to the fact that these things do affect us. And the more we ignore it, the bigger it gets. The disturber gets louder. So when you feel those effects, bringing yourself sooner than later into a space where you can feel safe and get alternative techniques is the quickest route to healing.
Our world is plagued with trauma. Everyone is affected by trauma, whether it's directly or to a family member or a loved one. We know somebody who's been affected by trauma. In most cases, it is us, on big scale, small scale. And so this isn't a problem that's going away. Culturally speaking, we can't just shove it under the rug like we have in the past. And so I think TRI is really important. It brings that marriage of psychology, neurobiology, and yoga together. And our trainings, we have these 20-hour trainings. Yeah, we teach you a few hours of science, but that sometimes is enough to start a revolution.
It works for me. It resonates for me because I tried it, and because the people that are involved have the same ethos, that it's about helping. It's not about being fit. It's not about any of that. That may be a side effect, but it's about being okay.
You have to ask yourself, how much of an investment are you willing to put into your staff? And if you can, put a little investment in hosting trauma recovery yoga or meditation in your office, the benefits, I think, outweigh the expense. I think you promote a healthier workplace, a healthier employee, and not that it's all about productivity, but certainly you're more productive if you're healthy, both mentally and physically. We all know that. There's studies over and over again that will tell you that. So that's really the benefit that it's had here at the coroner's office.
We are trainers. We train others. We place our teachers in spaces that are needed. We're a nonprofit, and we, when spaces don't have budget, we use our nonprofit funds to pay teachers to go to those places, because volunteers are nice. However, there's not a lot of accountability, and we find it's better to place them there and pay them well so that they continue to show up, because post-trauma, predictability is key to healing. The world is unsafe, and if we say we're going to be there, we got to be there, no matter what. So if that teacher can't make it, I have a sub back them up. So you can visit traumarecoveryyoga.org to find out more about our mission or how you may get involved, or donate, which would be great. Any donation, no matter how small, is greatly appreciated. It will help us to continue to bring our teachers into these spaces. And you may even find that you want to take a training or bring one to your community. We do travel, and we can bring it to you.